right. So let's go to, oh, I don't even think I have Revit open yet. Open Revit. Step 1, open the program. Okay. And I'm also going to open, let's see, downloads. We're going to open that. And we are going to open, oh, what else are we going to open? That's probably about it. Okay. Oh, not that one. Sorry. That was from this morning. Close that out. Okay. All right, so last time we talked about creating grids, right? Hopefully that's really not too difficult, right? And then I just drew a few little line segments in here, or wall segments, just to kind of illustrate, number one, how to line things up with the grid, right? But then we were talking about wall assembly. So the workbook, which I showed you last time, has a pretty good chapter on walls and wall types, right? But I also want to remind you that if you go to our Canvas homepage, hopefully I'm logged in, it will show me. If you go, we of course have our YouTube in-class lectures, so you can go there and review our in-class lectures, but if you go to course manual videos, then I released these, they're all disorganized. I don't like that. But I have chapters 1 through 6 released on the Revit, this is 2018, but the basics. So if you want to look at how to create door or walls and edit them, right? So here's the wall drawing command. And you can come in here, hopefully the sound isn't on.
Welcome to sections 3.
It is. Okay, so we won't listen to that. But there's a 15-minute video on wall creation, right? So if you don't want to search through the class lecture, then you can kind of watch the specific skill areas in there. Okay, so let's talk about walls today. And I specifically want to talk about, I want to create a couple of new wall types just to go over it again. And then I want to talk about how you can take the walls that you generate for your assignment and change them to the new wall types that you generate, okay? Then I'll show you how to place doors and windows. And finally, we'll talk about how to load doors and windows into the project. So different types, right? If the right type isn't in your project. All right, so let's talk about creating a wall type. And what I have done in your assignment is I have defined an exterior wall for you. So one that is this wall assembly, okay? And then I've had you define, I think, 2 interior wall types, all right? So one wall type is just going to be a stud wall with gypsum board on both sides, right, for these walls. And then you're going to have a secondary interior wall type that will be a stud wall, but it will have tile on one side for the bathrooms, okay? We're just going to make it simple for right now. So if we look at the assignment, I'm going to go to, we have walls, part 2, and we have doors and windows here. So let's look at walls. So part 1, creating new wall types. So number 1, wall type 1, this will be an exterior wall and will be composed of the following layers. 8-inch CMU block, 1-inch air gap, a membrane layer with a 0 thickness, 3/4 inch substrate plywood, 2x6 stud wall, and 1/2-inch gypsum board. Okay, so this is the exterior moving towards the interior. Wall type 2, this will be an interior wall, 1/2-inch gypsum board on one side, 2x4 stud wall, which is 3.5-inch thickness, and then a 1/2-inch gypsum board on the other side. Wall type 3 will be identical to wall type 2, but will include a tile layer on one side. This tile layer will be in the bathrooms, and so the tile will be on the inside of the bathrooms. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this on my other screen over here, and I will create those, and I'll create these in our assignment, actually, and then I'm going to show you how to take like this wall and change it to that wall type. Okay. All right, so I just want to reiterate in Revit that when you're creating a new type of something, there's no new wall type button, right? There's no new door type button. There's no new window type button, right? Essentially, the way Revit works is that you take something that's already existing and that is somewhat defined close to what you want to generate. You're going to take that existing object, you're going to duplicate it, rename it, redefine it, and then use it, all right? And the idea behind taking something that's already existing and redefining it is it's, I think, supposed to be less work for you, essentially, right? The basic setup is already there. You're just changing the parts out, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to create wall type 1 here. And this wall type 1 has a CMU block, exterior facade, 1-inch air gap, membrane layer, 3/4 inch substrate plywood, 2x6 wood stud wall, and a 1/2-inch gypsum board. That's this wall. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the wall type. I'm going to initiate the wall type, the wall command. I'm going to find a wall type in my wall menu here, under my properties dialog box, that is most similar to that exterior wall type that I want to generate. All right. So I look here and I see, well, there's brick on CMU, there's exterior CMU insulated, CMU on metal stud. That one likely seems the closest to me. And I say that because I think it's CMU, it's on a metal stud, mine's on a wood stud, that'd be pretty easy to change, right? So I'm going to click on that one. And I could draw a little segment just so I have it on my screen, which I think maybe I'll just do for purposes of tonight. But I also could have just, as I had it selected, I could have just clicked on edit type even before I drew anything. Okay. All right. So I click on this, I'm going to hit edit type, and what I need to do next is I need to duplicate this wall type, which means I create a brand new copy of it, leaving the original untouched. Edit type, duplicate, we'll give it a new name, CMU on wood stud with gypsum board. Okay. So what I just did there was I duplicated it, renamed it, and now I have a brand new wall type with a new name, which is different from this wall type over here. Okay. Now it's time for me to redefine the wall assembly, change the layers in that wall type. So I'm going to hit edit, and I can make this menu a little bigger by coming down here, right? And now I need to look at all of these different layers, and I need to compare them to the layers that are required for the assignment, essentially. So I look here and I have a finish, right? And I want to reiterate here, we always have to have a structure, right? And the structure always kind of lays in between these two core boundary definitions here, right? And structure is always number 1. Moving towards the exterior side of the wall, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So our functions are kind of moving that direction, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as we move toward the interior side of the wall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So some numbers might be left out, but if you have like a 4, it would go before the 5. All right. So I look at my finish here, and if I hover over this side of it, I get a little black arrow, and I can highlight it. And I want this to be an 8-inch CMU block wall, okay? And it's going to be a finish here. So concrete masonry unit, that's right. We're going to leave that alone. I'm just going to change the thickness. We're going to make it an even 8 inches, right? We're not going to worry about the mortar joint. We'll include it. Great. So next I have thermal air layer number 3. Yeah, that looks good. And I want that to be 1 inch. We're going to change that to 1 inch. Enter. So this one is actually very close to the wall assembly we're creating, right? Next thing, I have a membrane layer with which we can leave as the air infiltration barrier, which is a 0 thickness. Now, membrane layers are sort of special in the wall assembly where they're the only one you can give a 0 thickness to and it will function. Okay, So membrane layers can be air infiltration barriers like Tyvek. They can be bituminous waterproofing membranes, right? They can be vapor barrier. They can be paint. You could call paint a membrane, right? So if you wanted to add paint to the inside of your wall, it'd be a membrane. And they'd all have a 0 thickness, okay? If I tried to give a 0 thickness to anything else, I'd get an error, essentially. All right, so I have a substrate here next, which will be 3/4 inch plywood. Perfect. My structure here is a wood stud wall. So instead of metal stud, I'm going to click in there and click on my little ellipsis. And I'm going to type in wood. A stud wood wall is softwood lumber. It's Douglas fir, which is softwood. So I'll click on that. Hit OK. And we'll give this a 5.5 inch thickness. 5.5, enter. And, oh, we don't need this vapor barrier, so we're pretending, right, of course. I'm going to click on that, highlight it. I don't need it, so I'm going to delete it. Come down here to delete. And it looks like from the assignment, I just have my gypsum board left, and that's a 1/2 inch, so everything looks pretty good, right? So instead of, if I had a brand new wall button, having to, redefine all of those and find the function and the material and the thickness, right? It was very easy for me just to come in and find a wall type similar to the one I wanted, change 2 elements, and I was done, right? So I'm finished here, right? If I needed to, I could also reorder these, right? Let's say this needed to move down or up, or something had to be, something below another. I could use the up and down function, right, to move those. I'm not going to, because I don't want anything to go wrong. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK again. And now my new wall type is showing here. Okay. So I've just created my new wall type. Now, as I zoom in here, let me just show you a few visual settings. I'm going to do a thin line setting, TL, right? With my thin lines turned off, I can sort of see the layers kind of a little better, right? Which is helpful. I can change my view coarseness level, the detail level. If I click on this little button here, if I change it to coarse, the layers go away, and it's a very fundamental block wall. It just looks like a solid mass. There's no definition to it. If I click on medium, I get some more definition, so I can now see the wall assembly pieces. And if there's any more detail to be shown, it would appear in fine, which we don't really have anymore. So there's wall type 1, okay? And I forgot to do one thing that I want you to do for the assignment. I forgot to put something in the name of this wall type. So I'm going to click on this wall. I'm going to hit edit type again. And I named it exterior CMU on wood stud with gypsum board. I think I actually want to call it WT1, wall type 1. So I'm going to hit rename, and instead of this exterior, I'm going to put WT1 in front of this. That's much better. Okay. Okay again. Bless you. So I can rename wall types, right? And I didn't create a new one. I just renamed it. If I happen to have made a mistake in the wall assembly and I need to change it or fix it, right, I can select it and I can hit edit type, go back into the edit structure button, and I can make any changes I needed to. So if I wanted my air barrier, my thermal layer to be 2 inches, I'm going to hit OK, OK again, and I can make that change. Okay, so highly editable, right? Revit is extremely custom, so it's easy for me to make changes to the wall types I generate. Okay, I'll create, well actually I think I might already have this one created, the wall type number 2. 1/2 inch gypsum board with 2x4 wood stud wall and gypsum board on the other side. I'm going to look at this wall assembly and just double check it. Edit type, edit structure. Yeah, I have my gypsum board wall, my stud in there, and my other finish. That one's pretty good. Now if I wanted to add tile to that, I wanted to create this identical wall but add tile, I could click on it, edit type, duplicate, So we're going to do gyp with tile. I'm going to rename it, leaving the original untouched. Okay. I'm going to hit edit here. And now I don't want the tile on the exterior. Probably want to put it on the interior side, even though this is an interior wall, right? So you'll have to flip it back and forth to get it on the right side of the wall. Okay. But just for habit, I'm going to put it on the interior side. So I'm going to choose I'm going to choose this row, hit insert, and my new material went above the finish, so I'm going to move it down. This is finish number 5. The tile is also going to be a finish, and it's going to be a number 5 because it's on the the interior side of the wall. So we can have 2 finishes, that's fine, right? As long as they're number 5s for the interior side. I'm going to click on category. I'm going to type tile. Let's do there. There we go. Nice and purple. Hit OK. And give it a thickness. We'll just do 1 inch, right, to be safe. Hit OK. OK again. And there is my wall with tile on it. Okay. A couple of reminders about walls. If I click on a wall, I have what's called the location line, which indicates where that wall has been drawn from. Okay. So I'm telling you this because when you change a wall type, the location line is pretty important. All right. Let me show you where this wall is laying. It's on grid line 3, and grid line 3 runs alongside the gypsum board there, right? If I click on the wall, it shows me where the location line is, and it also tells me where the location line is here. I can change the location line like to the center line of the wall, and it doesn't move it around. It just, now any changes that are made will be according to that location line on the wall, okay? Let me show you what that means. Because your next assignment, you're going to have to change some wall types, right? So if I take this wall and I change it by selecting it, dropping my menu down here, let's change it to a nice thick wall. Let's choose one of the ones we just created. Where's my wall type? Did I hit it? I didn't hit undo, did I? Ah, there it is, wall type 1. Okay, so wall type 1 is a much thicker assembly than the wall I currently have selected. With my location line in the middle at center line, if I change that wall type, it takes the extra thickness and it distributes it on either side of the wall. Okay, this is a really actually big topic because if you have to change the wall assembly on a project you're working on, right, and your wall, the exterior wall, is defined so that maybe your square footage is perfect, right? If you have your location line located at the center and you change all the exterior walls, all of a sudden you have 3 extra inches all the way around the perimeter of the building, right? Let's say if it's gross square footage. So that's not very helpful when you want to maintain a footprint, right? I wanted this wall to be lined up with grid line 3. And with a location line at the center, I just added a bunch of wall on the other side of grid line 3. Let me undo that. Okay, if my location line is finished face exterior, now my location line is at the grid line. And if I change the wall type, you see how instead of distributing evenly on both sides, it distributes this, it keeps this boundary the same and distributes that direction, right? So if you want to maintain the exterior of a building, you need to change the wall assembly, make sure all the location lines of the exterior walls are to the exterior, and then change it and it moves in, not out. Sort of makes sense, hopefully.
Do that like my halls now on the print say 3.5 inch or 3 foot 6 inches hall. Now they're off by 1.5 inches.
Right. Right.
When I measured, so that's normal.
What?
Because of the walls you made us build.
Yeah.
Probably.
They may have. I don't have the wall types on this plan. This looks like a 2x4 stud wall, and I say that because this right here looks that looks like a 2x6 wall. So you're saying it's slightly narrower here?
Off on my hallway when I went to measure my hallway.
Yeah. It could be because our walls are thicker. Because we use like a
Don't worry
6
about it,
inch.
come on.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it just yet. Our wall thickness could just be off. Yeah, we don't have wall types to
Well, I
look
just
at here.
started, I didn't want that 1.5 inch to compound, and then all of a sudden I look funny at the end.
At the end, it doesn't work out. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you fall, if everything falls on the grid lines and it's slightly off, it's something we've done essentially. Yeah. Okay, so. But pretty important topic, right? So you're going to come in here and you're going to be changing all of your exterior walls and your interior walls to these new wall types. And so what's going to happen if your grid line is running along the outside here, right? And you change your wall type, right? Sorry, I said that maybe in reverse. What happens if your location line is center line and you change this wall type? It's going to distribute on both sides of the grid line. And those walls that you took a lot of careful time to lay out, they'll kind of be in the wrong position, right? So you'll have to reline them up. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So just something to kind of keep in mind. Bless you. If I had made a mistake like that, and let me undo this. If I made a mistake like that, I had let this remain wall center line, and I had changed this to wall type 1, right? And I think, oh great, several moves down the road I realized what I've done, right? A way that I could fix that is I could use the align tool to fix it. So I could AL align, click on the grid line, and then click on my wall, and I could realign things, right? It's generally probably easier to recognize up front how you want things to grow in and out instead of having to go back and realign things. Okay, but if you do happen to do that, just use the align tool, the move tool, get the walls back in where they need to be. All right, so I've been showing you this, right, back and forth, but the way that we're going to change wall types is we're going to select the wall. With the wall selected, I'm going to drop down. I'm going to find the wall I want to change it to. Click, and it changes it. Okay. I could also use match properties. MA, click on the one I want, click. Right, so I can match properties back and forth. I could also, let me do a quick wall type here. Let me find one I don't want. There we go. If I had drawn a string of walls, which you guys have all done, right? Weaved back and forth. I've created all of these. They look wonderful. There we go. You're thinking, gosh, I wish I could just change them all at the same time, right? Magically, you can. I can hover over one, press tab, click. I can select them all at once. I can change their location line all at once if it's wrong. Yeah, I probably want that to be finish face. It's kind of odd. Why is that not moving? A little weirdness going on here. I think I had this problem before on another one too, doing that. Well, let's see what happens when I change them all. So normally you can select them all and change the wall center line. And then I'm going to drop down wall type 1. And you're thinking, how did you filter out all the other wall types, right? Bless you. I typed WT, which was, I didn't go into any menu. As I dropped the wall menu down, I just typed WT and it entered into an immediate search. So anything with WT in it, it filtered so I could see it, and all the other stuff turned off, essentially. So now I click on that, and oh, it did grow to the outside, which is not kind of what I wanted, but let's, for practice, just align all those walls, right? AL align, click, click. AL align, click, click. It's not too bad, but it's kind of nice just to get it right the first time. Click, click, AL, click, 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 click. There we go. Everything looks pretty good. Okay. So just remember that you have to select something to change the wall type. You also have to, if you wanted to like edit the wall type, you would select that wall type and you would hit edit. Okay. You can create as many wall types as you want. The only, I think, hindrance in that, or the problem with it, is that they are then part of your wall menu. This is one of my biggest pet peeves about Revit and this is why I think I'm not as fast in Revit as I am in AutoCAD, right? Because I want to draw something, I have to go through a menu, find what I want to draw, then I have to click on a tool to draw it with, and then I have to use another drop-down menu to find a line type, right? So I'm menu all over the place, right? Where in AutoCAD, it's like line is L, enter, click, 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 and you're drawing, essentially. That's true. That is true. That is true. He's like, no, let's not go backwards, right? Yep. Okay. I'm going to go into my 3D view, and now I can see all of my walls look really wonderful. Now, another thing I want to remind you about is orientation of wall. If for some reason when I'm drawing my wall type, and I'm just going to type WA, and I go click, let me get one with the actual... There we go. And let's say I want to have the CMU on the other side of the wall as I'm drawing, right? I can spacebar. And when I spacebar, it flips about the location line, right? So as I'm drawing, if the CMU or the interior wall is on the wrong side of the wall where I'm drawing, I can spacebar and flip it back and forth, okay? If I place the wall and it's wrong, I guessed wrong or didn't see it right, I can select the wall and click this little change wall orientation. So that can flip back and forth. Okay. All right. One more little reminder about walls, right? I'm going to go into a north elevation here. Walls have a top constraint, walls have a bottom constraint. We all know that. But one other thing I kind of want to show you is that we can give them an offset based upon their constraint. Okay. What that means is that I could say in general, I want all of the main level walls to start at level 1, you know, but maybe this wall, I still want it constrained at level 1, but maybe it needs to, you know, be 6 inches above level 1 for whatever reason, right? So here I have a base offset, 0, 6 inches, enter. You notice that little wall right there bumps up 6 inches above level 1, okay? So if you had a garage and you drew a garage wall and you wanted to have the concrete come up, you know, 12, 18 inches, whatever, above grade, you could assign the walls to level 1 and then give them a base offset of 18 inches, right? And the concrete could come up and meet that. The nice thing about sort of keeping it associated with level 1 is that if you change the height of level 1, it still moves up and down, right? But it does maintain that gap if you need it. So I can give a positive base offset, but I can also give a negative base offset, negative 6 inches. And it goes below level 1, 6 inches. So, and I can do the same thing with the top of my wall here. If I want the top of my wall to go to level 2, but I want it to extend, you know, 1 foot 6 inches above that, I can do that. Or if I want that wall to dip down below the wall negative 1 foot, I can do that as well. Okay, so you're able to sort of customize the height just a little bit. And that little wall there, see, there it is. That little wall is right there. I can grab that wall and I can also change those to 0, 0, apply that, and they all nicely meet together now. Okay. All right. Any questions about creating wall types or editing wall types or not yet? Good. Okay. Well, let's talk about doors then. Doors are easy. Doors and windows are actually really easy in Revit. So I'm going to go to level 1 here. And I'm going to close all my hidden views there. And the next part of your assignment will be to start adding doors to this project. Okay, and I just want to show you a couple of things about the drawings first. I want to show you that we have a lot of doors, obviously, right? And we have, let me just look here real quick. So we have a door that has glass in it right there. I'm not hugely concerned with you getting the identical door because right now you're just kind of starting this process. So I'm going to show you how to find some of these other door types, but if you can't find the identical one, that's okay. But I also want to show you here that this door has a door symbol next to it. It's round and it has a number 1 in it. Okay, so you're thinking, well, how big is that door? I don't know. Well, let's look at door number 1, and that is on this sheet, A2.2. Okay, door number 1 is 8 foot tall, 4 foot wide, and it has a window above it, which we're not going to really kind of worry about just yet. Okay, so I know that I have to have an 8 foot tall, 4 foot wide door right there. It's a big door. All right. Go back to our floor plan here. Okay. And I can look and find all the sizes of all the doors needed, right, on that same sheet, essentially. But let's talk about how we're going to add some doors here to our floor plan. Okay. The door command is located here. It's DR for a shortcut. And the window command is located right next to it. It's WN, okay? So when I want to add a door, you guys who've been using AutoCAD, you're just going to die over this, right? To add a door, I click on door, and I hover over the floor plan where I want the door to go, right? Click. Look how easy that is. I know, right? Nice and cleaned up. It creates the opening. It shows the panel. It shows the swing. We don't have to use arc anymore, right? Which is wonderful. I know, my nemesis, the arc. And I can change the swing or the orientation of it really easily. So if I click this little guy, it flips, no cleanup necessary. If I click on that, it swings it in, right? Very nice.
Do we still have to create the door jambs though?
No, nope. Mm-mm. Well, let me say, with this door, it's not indicating them, but a lot of the other doors I'm going to show you, I'm going to have you go find. They'll be built into it, essentially.
I just wanted to double check because I think
Yeah. Yeah, the frame is shown on there. I'm not hugely worried about that right now either, but this door is kind of one of the most fundamental Revit has, but most of the doors that I use at this point have that built into it. Okay. So a door in Revit is considered a family, okay? It's essentially like a 3D block, right? So doors, you have a block, right, where you have an instance of a block and it has a name, right? This is an instance of a door, and the type of the door is a 36-inch by 84-inch tall door. That's its type name, right? So this door with this name has certain properties, of course, just like a wall, right? Any named wall has certain properties associated with it. If I hit Edit Type when I have this door selected, I can look at all of the different properties of this door, okay? So I can see that it has a 2-inch thickness. I can see the height, the trim projection on it, the width of the trim, and the width of the door. It's 3 foot. If I make a change to this door within the Type Properties dialog box here, so if I change it to like 5 foot wide, any door with this exact same name will have that change made to it. Even though the name didn't change, right? Any door with that name will have that change made to it. It's like a block, okay? Everybody's smiling like, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna hit undo on that real quick. Bring it back. All right, so placing doors is very easy. I'm in the level 1 floor plan view right now, and because I placed the door and I was at level 1, it automatically just placed it at level 1, okay? But doors, just like walls, they have a base constraint associated with them. They don't have a top constraint because they have a fixed height, right? But they do have a base constraint associated with them. So I can click on this door. I can come over here to the properties and see it's at level 1, right? If I want it to be a little bit higher than level 1, I can give it a sill height. So if I wanted it to be, 7 inches above level 1, I could do that, and I see a little sill is happening. Let me go into a 3D view and we'll take a look at it. WT, window, tile. Look how cute my little door is, right? And you can see that because I gave it a 6-inch sill height, it sits 6 inches above level 1. If I click on it again, you see it highlights over here because that's, even though I'm viewing it in different views, these are the same object, right? So I click on the door and I change my sill height to 0, enter, and it goes back down to where it needs to be.
Is that for like when you're putting steps outside next to your door?
Yeah. Yep. You can do that. All right. So there's my door. I can click on it, and I can copy these if I need to, right? I could CO copy, click, click, and I could copy it. Now I have 2 doors, which is wonderful, right? Or I could just come back over to architecture, door, and I can continue just to place doors crazily all over the place, right? There we go. It's wonderful. And I start seeing doors generating everywhere. Oop. There we go. Okay, so I have all those doors in there now. Now, I can place doors in a 3D view. I can place doors in an elevation view, actually. They're an element that needs to be hosted into something. So if I click on the door command and I'm hovering in nowhere land, right, and I click, 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 I don't get any doors that are generated because they need to be, they're a hosted item. They're a component, so they need to be hosted into a wall, essentially, right? So I can hover over a wall, click, click, and it just places those doors, okay? I'm going to make a quick change to my wall system so you can just see what happens when I want to place these at level 2. I'm going to give my walls a top constraint of level 4. Oh, wait, I don't remember what level 4 was. Let's look at our elevations. I probably just didn't, I didn't rename my levels correctly. You create a new level that's up here. There we go, that's up to level 5. Okay. So I'm going to take all my walls, tab, click, and I'm going to change the top constraint to level 5. All right, so I get these really tall walls now. Great. So what happens when I don't want these doors to be on level 1 anymore. What if I want them to be on level 2, right? Well, I can click on this door. I can also have done this in floor plan view, and I can change the level from being hosted at level 1 to level 2, and it moves up, okay? And Revit knows it's at level 2, so if I create a door schedule, it will tell me that that door is at level 2 and it's not at level 1, right? Sounds like you've created a door schedule before. Terrible, right? Especially in AutoCAD. It's so magical in Revit. Just wait. Just wait. Okay. So what I have here, I only really have, let's see how many door types I have in here right now, right? So door types and wall types are kind of similar in that, you know, when I opened up Revit, I had maybe 10 different wall types. So they were all defined differently, right? They all had different wall assemblies. Each element in Revit, it has a set of properties associated with it that you can change. They're kind of tailored to that object, right? So walls have a top and bottom constraint, and then they have a wall assembly system where we have to define the different levels of the wall assembly. It's appropriate for walls, right? With doors, okay, if I hit edit type, I don't see all the same things I would see in a wall system, right? Because doors are different from walls, right? Instead of having, you know, worrying about brick on CMU or whatever, right? We're worried about the width and the height of the doors, okay? So those are the things that, if we wanted to create a new door type, those are things that we're going to be changing for the doors. The heights, the widths, different things like that, okay? Revit looks like there's really only one type of door in here. It's a single flush door, and I have a bunch of different widths and heights associated with it, right? None of these are actually the width or height that we need for our project, so we'll have to change that. But you will see that we have some different options on sizing, which is kind of nice, okay? All right, so we can place doors by using the door command. I can click on the door once it's placed and change its orientation. I can swing it, you know, one direction or the other. I can place it at whatever level it needs to be placed on. And when I place a door, it's by default placed on the level I am currently on. So if I go to level 2 and I start placing doors, they're all going to be placed on level 2, okay? All right, so how do we get some new door types in here, right? And how do we alter the ones that we currently have to fit our needs, right? So this door right here, it's 4 feet wide by 8 feet tall. We don't have one of those in here. Number one, we don't have a glass door. Number 2, we don't have one that's that large, all right? So first I'm going to show you how to change the sizing of a door and to create a new door type. And then I'll show you how to go out into the Revit library and find other types of doors like glass doors and sliding doors and pocket doors and closet doors, okay? So if I wanted to change or create a brand new door type, and this is where I said it's very key to understand the idea of how to create a new wall type, because you'll create new items just like you will a new wall type, right? There's not a new wall type button. We essentially find the door type that is most similar to the new one we want to generate. We duplicate it, rename it, redefine it, and then we reuse it, right? Same exact process that we follow to create a new wall type. All right, so I don't like this this door type, and one thing I do want to point out is we have kind of a double definition here. So this is single flush, so the actual style of the door is going to remain the same, but we're going to create a new type underneath the single flush style, right? So what I'm about to do now is create a new door type, but it will still be a single flush door. I'm just giving it a new height and width definition, okay? So I'm going to select the door I want to change. I'm going to hit Edit Type. Again, I'm going to duplicate, and in this case we'll call it 48 inches by 96 inches. Okay. And with the door, it's as easy as looking here and saying the height. Okay, we don't want it 7 foot, we want it 9 foot, enter. And the width, we don't want it 3 foot, we want it 4 foot, enter. And I hit OK. And I just created a new door type. Okay. So it's still a single flush style, but I have a new type with new dimensions associated with it. Okay. So if I wanted to find, sorry, let me step back. That's how you would create doors with new dimension, right? Dimensional quality. But what if I wanted to find a glass door or a sliding door, right? A different style of door? Well, it's not going to be very easy for me to take this door and turn it into a slider. Okay, I have to load those new styles into my Revit project, and then I'll use those. Okay, it's like in AutoCAD, you know, you don't take a door like this and explode the block and then turn it into a slider and recreate that block or redefine that block. You just start a brand new block, or you go find one and you bring it in, right? Okay, so if I need to find a new door style, I'm going to come up here to Insert. And I'm going to come over here to Load Family. And we're going to just load families. We're going to go out and find them, and we're going to load them into this project. We're going to find them in the Revit library for right now. Okay, so I'm going to click Load Family. And immediately I'm brought into the U.S. Imperial Revit Library. Revit has a ton of stuff with regards to families. So furniture and fixtures and doors and windows and just a bunch of stuff. So I find the folder that has doors in it. I hit open, and let's say we probably want to find another residential door. Click. If I click on it, it'll give me a preview, and if I just use my arrows to move down, I can start seeing all of the different types of doors that this project has available. So that one looks pretty close to the front door, right? But it has those mullions in it, but I secretly know that we can turn those off. So I'm probably going to load that door. So to load a door, you click on the one you want and you hit open. And it says, hey, what sizes of this door would you like to bring in, right? There's a million of them. You can bring them all in, which you're like, hey, I probably will use most of these. But then they all end up in your menu that you have to scroll through to find all the other doors, right? So I didn't used to be, but I'm a little bit more selective on the ones that I bring in. Since I know I'm probably going to need this as an 8-foot door, I'm going to click on one, I'm going to hold shift, click on the last one, and it highlights all the ones I want, hit OK. All right. Now, not to say I can't go back and get those other ones if I need them. They're always there, right? But I'm just going to bring the few I know that I need in. So it doesn't appear as anything happened. But now when I go to the door command, look at that. I have a glass door available for me to use. Okay. And I know that I'm going to need a 4-foot by 96-inch door. So again, to create a new door type under that style, I'm going to choose the one that's closest to what I want to generate, right? And I'm going to either place it and then create a new one, or I could choose edit type now. And we'll hit duplicate. We'll change this one to 48 inches, right, by 96. Hit OK. And the width of this will be 4 foot. Enter. 8 foot looks good. Now, I'm just going to not worry about all this other stuff. I'm going to hit OK. And now I have a new style there. Hover over the door, click, escape, and I have my new glass door here. Okay. Let me pop into a 3D view and show you this door. Look how nice that elevation already is for you, right? You don't have to draw all those little parts and pieces in your elevations. Thinking of your final project, right? I'm going to click on that door. This actually has a special parameter associated with it that we're not going to get into how they created it yet, but I'm just going to show you it's there, right? So the one thing I don't, and I suspect, I didn't look at the door, but I don't think they have kind of these little muntins or whatever they're called on it, right? And if you click on it, you'll notice over here in the properties dialog box that it says show grill. I can uncheck that and it goes away. Okay. Another wonderful thing that I'm going to show you about this glass door, and not all of these doors have this built in. Now, did you see how this one actually has the frame built into it, right? So the different door styles have different things associated with them, right? But if I select it, I can change the swing angle to 45 degrees, enter, and you see graphically it just looks like it's open 45 degrees on the floor plan, right? It's kind of a nice option. Oop. 90 degrees, enter, there we go. Okay, so I have my glass door. I'm going to find a slider now, right? So I'm going to go back to insert, load family, and I'm going to go to, let's look at the doors we have here. There's a sliding door there, right? It kind of doesn't make sense. They have all these sort of folders and they don't use them very well, right? But I can click on it and I can just take a browse and look at, there's some maybe sliding doors, double sliding glass doors, single flush panel. So if you want a double door, right, residential, we have double doors in here as well. You don't put two single doors next to each other. You just grab, uh-oh, where's the double door? Did I miss it?
Right there.
It's a double pocket. Oh, is that the, no? Sliding 2 panel. We have an actual swinging, I wonder if it's out here. Might be out here. So we have some double, what was our passage? Where's our double door? It's odd. It's one of the most, we might have to go out online and find it. Interesting. It used to be in here. I'll have to look for that one. What I actually did come in here for was the double sliding glass door, right? So I think I'm going to probably grab that one, hit open, and again it will say what size, and this one doesn't have very many sizes, so I'll likely just grab them all and hit OK, and now I have all those sliding glass doors, right? So I want to add a door. There's my double sliding. I don't know what size the one is they have in there, but I'll do a bigger one just for the sake of it, right? We can grab that door size. I'm going to hit edit type, and I'm going to duplicate this one, rename it. So let's make this an 8 foot by 8 foot, just to change it. So 96 by 96, okay. So the width is 8 foot, the height is 8 foot. Okay, we have a nice big gigantic sliding door. How nice that is, right? all in there nice and perfect, self-contained. The opening is generated, right, when you place the door, so you don't have to trim out the walls. And the opening goes just as high as the door, right, which is really nice. There we go. Okay. Any question? Do you have a question? Nope. Any questions on creating doors, adding doors? So easy. Here's another, sorry, I just love this option too. We're not going to do this just yet, but let me just show you one of the best parts about doors and windows and things in Revit, okay? Oops. Oh my gosh, look how easy the tagging is. Makes you want to cry. Look how lovely that is, right? Trent can't handle himself over here. Oh, I think I tagged that one twice accidentally. I can change the orientation of the tag, right? But the nice thing about this, the best part about this system is I could change this to 2A, right? And that mark is associated with that individual door, right? Which then leads us to its schedules, right? So Revit is very smart. That's what's wonderful about Revit. So I can assign a door number to each of these doors. They're unique to the door. And then I can create a door schedule that automatically populates all these numbered doors. It's magic, right? And if I change the scale of this drawing, let's change it to 1/4 of an inch. Oh, look what happens. Isn't that wonderful? All the annotation flexes with it. Okay. So you'll go around here, you'll look at all these door types, you'll figure out how big they are, right? I know it's not going to be perfect right now, but as we move through the weeks, you'll really be able to refine how these things are looking in your model, so I'm not too worried about it yet, right? But you're going to get the walls in the right spot, you're going to change them to the right wall type, you're going to add all the doors that you see in there, right? I think that most of these doors you'll be able to find in, that's a pocket door. There's pocket doors in the Revit library. You can find those. These swing doors you'll be able to find and alter the size of them. That's a swing door with a 45-degree angle, right? This is a glass door. We found a glass door. That's a sliding door right there. So get the doors in your model. That's part of the assignment, okay? The final part of your assignment, and the final thing we'll talk about tonight, is windows. And windows and doors are really very identical in how you find them in the Revit library, how you change their sizes, and then how you place them. Essentially, it's kind of the same technique. So I'm going to zoom out here so that we can kind of watch this happening. But I want to place some windows now, okay? So if I go to Architecture and I go to Window, WN, you're going to see that we also have some windows over here in our Revit model. We have a fixed style with a bunch of different types of sizes. We have a casement, right? And we have some sizes here. We have a double hung with some sizes here, right? So there's 3 types. I could select one that I wanted, like let's choose double hung. And if I'm over here in my floor plan level 1, this window is automatically associated with level 1, okay, just like the doors. The only difference between the two is that a sill height is built into a windows, right, and it's kind of defined. So I get an out-of-the-box 3-foot sill height for this window because, well, I'm not even going to say normally, but not even most of the time. I would, maybe a stereotype. We'll stereotype windows tonight. Very stereotypically, windows have a sill height, like all of these windows. They don't usually go to the floor, right? So a sill height is built in. But windows, to place them, you hover over the wall you want to place them, you click, and very magically your window is nicely placed, right? Looks wonderful. I can click and I can change the orientation of it in the wall here. Sort of where it where this window lands. Let's see, I'm going to edit the type here real quick. I don't know if we can change. Yeah, for this one we can't really change sort of where it lays in the wall, like if you wanted to bring it in a little bit. But you could pick another window style that will allow you to place it like at the center of the wall or whatever you want to do. I suspect this one is similar to the door with the grill. Let's see if this has a grill. You can turn the grill off. Oh, nope. But it looks like I can turn the trim off. You see that? It turned all of that exterior trim off. Turn the trim back on, maybe. But it looks like we're stuck with the little muntins on that window. So if we didn't want them on there, we'd have to find a different window type, essentially, window style, right? But these are really very easy to place, okay? So if I don't have the right size of window, I click on the window, I hit edit type, I hit duplicate. Let's make this a big window. We'll change it to 60 inches by 60 inches, okay. And again, windows, they have a few more. Oh yeah, you can turn it off. Muntin visibility. It was just in the actual dialog box this time. Let's turn that off. I don't like that. But all of the properties that are associated with the window are in here, right? Just like all the properties associated with the door are in that dialog box. So in this case, I want this to be 60 by 60. So 5 foot by 5 foot. Enter. I'm going to hit OK. And there's my big gigantic window. And I was looking to be able to turn the grill off here, but I actually had to hit edit type, and then my Muntin visibility was able to be turned off. Okay. If I want to change the sill height, I click on the window and I can change the sill height to, 2'6", enter. Right? Works pretty well. There are some properties in these, let me clarify this. There are some properties in certain families, and this can be across the board like doors and windows and different things, where if you change them, it's just a visibility setting for that one object. That's called a type setting, or sorry, an instance setting, okay? So if I click on this, I hit edit type, I duplicate, I rename, I redefine, that changes the entire type of that object, okay? But if I come in here and I turn off the trim, it's only going to turn the trim off on that one window, even if I have 50 instances in the project, right? And as you work with these things, you'll kind of figure out which ones are instance-based and which ones are type-based, okay? All right, so I can place these windows anywhere I want. I can copy them, I can move them. I can go to level 2. Let's go to level 2 here. Level 2. And if I want to place some windows there, I can also place windows here. So WN is the window command. Let's pick our casement. I hover here, click, and I place my little window, right? It's just kind of hanging out right there. I can click on it. I can change the orientation if I want to, whatever I want it to be. Okay. All right. This one also has a sill type, a sill height associated with it. So it's 3 foot, right? So I could change that if I wanted to. And of course that would correspond to level 2. If there was a window type that I wanted to use, like a style, and I couldn't find it in Revit, I can load it in, right? So I can go to Insert, Load Family, and instead of being in Doors, I go back up to Windows. And we have a lot of different windows we can choose from. Skylights are windows. Ooh, they have some good new skylights in here. Oh, there you go. Right there. That's the ticket. Skylights are windows, but they're usually defined to host to a roof, right? So I don't know this for sure, but I suspect if we loaded it in, it wouldn't work on a wall, right? It'd just work on a roof. But let's pick, ooh, they have, look at that. They're getting fancy. These are all new. That one's fancy. These are all kind of new window types, bay windows. They didn't have these in 2018. But lots of new iterations of things. Oba. That's interesting. Let's choose that one. Open. So it loads those in. I'm going to go back to level 1. And we've used this wall a lot, so let's come over this direction. Okay, go up to Window, Architecture, or I can type WN. And I click, and I can place that large set of windows. Okay. Okay. So the windows, I think, of course, I want you to place the windows. The windows, this looks like W1. I assume those are on that A22. There are some custom size windows in this project. So I want you to do the best you can. And when we get a little bit further into the semester, we're going to learn another way to add some really custom shaped type windows. These aren't actually, they are windows, but they're probably, I think Imbue's still in AutoCAD, if I'm right. Is that right? Do you know that?
I'm not sure.
They were last time I visited, which was like maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe they're in Revit. But
Actually, I think they've been using SketchUp.
have they been using, not for their CDs though.
Some of them.
What?
That's what they were showing me.
Really? For construction drawings or just for like concept?
Oh, it may be for concept.
Concept? Okay, that makes sense. So I think they're still using AutoCAD, but what we would use, a different tool that we'd use for this would be a storefront system. Even though we're not really going to use storefront in this house, I suspect, right? A storefront system in Revit will allow you more flexibility to do things like this. So that top frame is slanted, which you guys don't know how to do yet, right? But you should, hopefully, be able to take a fixed window. This is just a fixed window and generally make it the right height, right? So I want you to get the windows into this project. Do the best you can to make it look similar, but I do know that you likely won't be able to do these angled windows, right? And these type of things, but get them pretty close. Get them pretty close, okay? Let's see, we've got our windows in here. You can tag windows just like you can doors. So if I am in here, and we're not going to do this yet, but I can also tag a window, right? So this number then becomes unique to that, or not unique, but windows are numbered differently, lettered differently. But this tag is now assigned to that window, and of course we can create a window schedule, right, from those, which just automatically generates. It's wonderful. But that's how you're going to place your windows, okay? So your window sizes will generally be known here. These, you can just use a fixed window for these without any mullions, right? The ones that open, just do the best you can. My main point with this first exercise is just to get you putting windows in your model, okay? So do the best you can with it. All right. Let's see, I feel like I had one more thing. Oh, no, let's see. Doors, windows, walls. Well, maybe the only other thing I was going to say is that, and I don't feel like we need to do this just yet, but families can be found in the Revit library, but you can also find them online, and there's a lot of resources to do that. So if there's something you need and you can't find it, like there's a website called Revit City that we use a lot to find things. And there's also BIM Objects, which is a really great website to find things where you can download them and then load them into your project, and you can use them just like we have, okay? Any questions at all? Any of this? Pretty straightforward, okay. So your assignment, and I think I have this due quite a good amount in the future, so next week you'll be at Design Week. Hopefully I'll see some of you at Design Week. This will be due on October 8th. So I think that's the Monday that we return from Design Week. And if you have any questions, we can go through them in class. But I really just kind of want you to get, the model in shape essentially. And then when we get back, what are we going to talk about when we get back? I think we'll do some, we'll finish up one thing with walls, which we haven't done yet. And that is basement walls. We'll talk about basement walls. And then we will also, let's look at our syllabus here. I can't remember where we go next. I think we might start doing a little bit of printing. Doors, windows. Yeah, so a little bit of basic annotation and printing, essentially. So that'll be down here. But I'll show you how to create text, how to create dimensions, how to tag basic items, and then I'm going to show you how to take your floor plan view and put it on a sheet and print it out. So we take a tiny break from modeling, and then we're going to, so I can show you how to print and we can start printing, And then we'll get back into model, like floors and ceilings or roofs. Those go very quickly, right? Really quickly. So we'll move into that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. No other questions? Everybody's like, no, we're exhausted. It's bedtime. All right. There you go. We'll stop recording here.